Hey, welcome everybody to another Conversations with Geoff, man. And in this community, for those of you that don't know, and I know that those of you that follow us know, we focus our conversation around real talk, and we bring folks in that can help understand their struggles that they went through in whatever industry that they were in, similar to yours, right? And how they overcame those things, man. So we look at community and all the things in and around community, health, and wealth, right? Business, obviously, personal health, all that stuff falls underneath those three pillars. And why conversations with Geoff? Really? Because listen, most people, I believe this, most people don't understand the impact that they have with the conversation they're having with themselves, about themselves, in all those areas in their lives, right? Oh, you know where I'm going, guys. How many times do we look at things and we think, oh man, how am I going to do that? It's the how that gets you stuck. And then all of a sudden, all the memories of all the things that are always playing, by the way, that conversation you're having with yourself, that chatter is always playing. And unfortunately, for most of us, me included at times, it doesn't serve us. It doesn't move us along. It doesn't move the needle. It's the reason why we're stuck in where we are. I believe this to be true, man. And then why I get excited about that and why our community believes in this is that anybody, look, taking away all the excuses about money, we're taking away all the excuses about education or lack of, we're taking all the excuses about age and throwing that away. Or the color of your skin, whatever it is, man, because listen to me, I'm going to tell you something. When we understand the power that we have and being aware of the conversations that we're having with ourselves about ourselves, first of all, being aware of it, man. I mean, some of life just rolls on. We get up and we do the same thing every day, go back and the day's over and we do it all over again, right? Oh, man, anybody guilty like that, right? Being aware of it and then stopping it, man. I mean, disruptor. We heard so much about the industry disruptors. I'm talking about your personal disruptor in your own life, right? What are you going to do when that message starts to come up, right? Where you start to fall in that hole again when life shows up, because life is not going to stop showing up. We hope it doesn't, right? Because the alternative is going to be a terrible thing, man. Right. So understand, becoming aware of it and then pausing. And before I move on, I just want to say in that gap between aware and pausing, the thoughts that come up, really starting to understand where those thoughts come from, really start to understand, wow, man, I see that happening on a regular basis. Start to put them in some category, really look at that. It's going to require some work. It's going to require some guts, but you really want to do that. And most of the time it falls back into rejection from years ago and experiences or failures. And that stuff just runs. And then the external noise that's been stored inside that also from the people that supposed to have loved you, the people that you cared about. Who knows who hurt your feelings, right? But it all gets stuffed in that subconsciousness and it runs and it runs and it runs. And I got to say, your subconscious does not have to be looked at as an enemy. It's an ally for you, man, right? I mean, learn how to use that to your benefit. So anyway, the third thing on that is that begin to replace that stuff that you're having, right? The chatter that runs on them. I love this story about, I'm told about the two wolves sitting on the shoulder, and one wolf is good and caring, and the other wolf is wolf, right? And the little boy asked the man who's telling the story. He said, "So which one wins in the outcome, right?" And the man says very simply, "Which one you feed the most." Right? So who are you listening to? Who of yourself are you listening to? I always ask myself, Geoff, who are you listening to today? All right, which one's going to run this show? Right? I mean, that's the reality. I look in the mirror and we talk about it all the time on the show. I get up, I go in the bathroom, I look in the mirror and I look at who's looking back at me. And there's days that I'm like, man, I'm excited to see that person looking back at me because we had a great day before and I've done the things that I'm telling you about. I prepared myself for this day. All we have is one day, right? So I'm prepared for that day. And I look back and I'm excited about the day. And it's like my guest that's here. And listen, you real estate folks, you don't want to miss this. This man's got a big brain. This man's got some success stories around stuff and the details of what he's going to talk about, the information that he has. You do not want to miss it, right? We were laughing about in real estate, you either... Anybody that's been in this business has got their butt kicked along the way if they've done something in this business. There's a lot of people on the sidelines, but anybody that's done something in this business, you've had some problems, right? Anyway, so just like life, you're going to have problems, and it's how you recover, right? And so we'll talk more about the other side of that conversation when I bring them on. But anyhow, listen. So those of you that are new, my name is Geoff Tyson, and I'm known as the Comeback King. And man, this stuff is so important, and I got that name from other people that have seen me go through a roller coaster of life, we call it, right? The ups and the downs, and keep standing up, keep understanding that the power is in the comeback. Don't run from the struggle, man. Don't run from the setback. Don't run from COVID. Don't run from the things that are happening in your life. Stand in it, right? Because wherever you are and whatever you're running from is designed for you so that you can get to the next level. So stop running from it, stand into it, and let that be the elevator that raises you up to the next level, man. Stop taking the stairs through the problems. And you're taking the stairs by putting your head down. You're taking the stairs by just, That was a whole lot around that. All I can tell you is stop taking the stairs, face what's happening to you, and understand the power is in the comeback. And your real gift, your real mess, your real magic is found in the struggle, man. Embrace the struggle. Hold it dearly. Smile every time it goes sideways. Your life is going in another direction. Smile at it, baby. Because that's where your magic is, right? So anyway, listen, I'm going to put my information in here so you guys can get a hold of me there. And I want you to know that it is really an amazing time to be here and to know that, man, oh boy, all I can tell you is this. Don't run. Don't go away. Those of you that are here to see Mr. Brian Fine, our guest today, is really going to set up some things for you. And if you've really been wanting to get involved in real estate, yes, real estate is the bomb. Real estate is the business to get into. I truly believe that. Being a real estate investor myself, having my butt beat the last couple of years, I've been talking a lot about that. And we're still here. And this man's going to do that. So let me just get to what it is I need to hear. Let me grab his information. There's my information in the chat. And Brian started his investing in real estate with his wife, Laura, in 2012. And in just a few years, they had fixed and flipped over 100 retail homes. Then in 2019, they partnered with 3 genius investors. Hey, partnership is key, right? Don't be the smartest person. Don't be the only person on the ship, man. Get you a captain that knows what's going on, right? And they built a massive portfolio of cash flowing rentals. I'll say it again, cash flowing rentals, right? Today, he owns and manages hundreds of rental units and helps other investors to build their own passive wealth portfolios through turnkey services and private mortgages. I got to tell you, this gentleman is very humble, but you better get your pen and paper ready because he's going to lay you out with some details and some facts. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me bring to Conversations with Geoff from Pittsburgh, baby. Sorry about the Steelers, man. My friend Brian Fine. What's up, buddy? Oh, man, I don't have any volume now. We had it earlier, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
There we go. Awesome.
Gotcha.
The trick is to turn the mute off. That helps.
Well, I figured you were saying some bad things back to me about Pittsburgh if you're a fan. I don't know.
In Pittsburgh, they lynch you if you're not a Steelers fan. You don't get a choice.
There is no choice.
You live here, you're a fan, and that's just how that's going to be.
Oh, man, I get it, bro. Well, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for taking the time out.
Yeah, glad to be here.
And glad to have you here. And I appreciate you. I told you this before, but before we even met, being at a meeting and then listening to you, just with conviction on what you're doing, and sharing not just the clutter or the fluff, but the real things about real estate, man. So let's talk about maybe, how's real estate today and maybe, what made you go into real estate? Yeah. Well, I'm curious. Why'd you pick real estate, man? What were you doing before real estate and why real estate?
I got fired from the last job I ever had in like 2010, I think. And then I was very, very millennial, unemployed kid living in mom's basement. and uh, I'm a martial art guy. And
Mm,
so we would go to we would drive from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. a couple times a
mm.
year for seminars with some of our teachers who were from Japan and in the military and that kind of thing. And being broke and unemployed, and I was going back to school. I was in college, and I was carpooling with another gentleman. And on the way back, we're listening to the radio, and somebody comes on the radio saying, "Hey, you can learn how to flip houses just like on HGTV." And my buddy
Yeah,
goes, "You ever think about doing that?" I'm like, "Yeah, the wife and I like those shows enough. That sounds cool, but that costs money, and that's that thing that I don't have."
yeah,
And he said,
yeah.
"Well, I bought that program that guy's selling, and I don't really have the time to do it. So if you would like to partner with me on it, you can pay me back for the tuition, and you can do it." And so that's
Wow.
how I started learning about real estate.
Wow, 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 wow. Hey, I'm guilty of the same thing, a different way to get it. We invested our own. So you got that together, and did you use it right away? Did you use your own things? I mean,
No,
how
no,
did?
I was actually one of the least coachable, most awful students you could ever have. It took me 2 years to do my first deal, and
Mm.
I lost $93,000 on it.
Ooh.
Yep. Which, by the way, on a $140,000 transaction, that takes effort. You have to invent new mistakes to do that.
You had, boy, man, I love that.
And then, and so that was the guy who got me into the education and everything. That was his retirement account. And then
Oh,
on our second deal, we lost another 7 grand because he has 100K in his retirement account, and I had to wipe that out, which
you
was that
got
was gone.
just
Yeah,
obliterated that money, right?
yeah, that had to go. And then once we spent all that, I started making some. So we started turning a profit on the next deal. He was
Yeah.
way cooler about it the second time I lost his retirement, but he was not super happy the first time.
So the
Um,
second time he got a little more relaxed and
yeah, he was.
maneuvered.
It was like, "Ah, I'll make it back." He's like, "Yeah, I know you will. It's okay." Uh, but most of that came from I had this education, I knew what to do, and we just didn't do it because obviously we're smarter than those people, right? So
Yes,
I was
yes.
just a terrible, terrible student.
Uh,
And when we humbled ourselves, which I had to lose a lot of money to actually reach that point.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
when we humbled ourselves, it was like, okay, just do what the people who actually do this successfully say to do, and it's probably going to work out. And that was the beginning of our success path.
Oh man, I'm smiling because my wife is probably smiling. She's listening to this. She's probably saying, I told you," because I'm the second worst student. And my head is hard, man, and the lessons come along with that, as you know. So you
Mhm.
made that decision, you started doing that, and things changed overnight. Or what other struggles or
So
opportunities did you have?
So, like the way I said that, like I lost this money on our initial deal. By time I got to the point where we were losing that money, we had 5 other deals going on.
Mm.
So while in a linear fashion, the first deal and the second deal lost all the money, we already knew we had good ones in the pipeline. They
Yeah,
were already rolling. So it was we were carrying it on as a business. So while I was really stupid and lost a bunch of money up front, before that loss was realized, we had already started correcting course and getting
yeah.
into business in a more serious fashion.
I
So
love that. I love that. And man, I appreciate your humbleness to to say it like it is. I mean, because stupid doesn't listen. It's one thing to be dumb.
yep,
Stupid's a whole nother.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. It's willful ignorance when you've already been
Willful.
told the information and you elect not to follow it. That is nobody's fault but your own.
Oh man, that's so true. That's so true, man. So you now, how did your wife, you know, was she part of this when you started, or were you married then, or for the
Yeah,
people out there that are couples, how was that?
yeah. So we were married initially, and she had a job when I started doing this, but it took me a while to get started.
Hmm.
In the time that before we successfully bought our first property, she got laid off too, and we
Hmm.
decided to go all in on this.
Hmm.
And so she actually took the reins on a good chunk of that. She managed the contractors and
Hmm.
eventually was the front end. She was finding the properties and things too. I was concentrating on the marketing and sales.
Gotcha.
So she actually handled the heart of the business when we started.
Yeah, nice. So you guys, how was the layer? Did that just unnaturally evolve where she did that what you just said and you did the other, or did you have some bumping heads for
Yeah,
people trying to work together?
yeah, of course. But even the way we talk about the business partnership we have today, it's a form of a marriage, right? We're
Mm,
financially connected as much as any married couple, right?
right.
And so that level of closeness already exists in whether you're married or not. And the way we like to run our business, we call it a mutual dictatorship.
Mm,
And so there's aspects of the business that you'll be responsible for. That doesn't necessarily mean you're the one who has to do everything.
right.
But at the end of the day, if I ask them for help, but they don't have time or whatever, I'm responsible for completing that aspect of our business anyway,
Right.
right? And
Right.
and then within your specific aspect, you get to make the choices. There is somebody in our business, one of my partners gets to decide every house we buy or not, and they have absolute control over that. I can think it's the greatest deal ever. They don't like it, we're not buying it. And the
Mm,
reverse is also true. They can willingly buy houses that I would choose not to. That is a trust that I have to put in them, and I have to allow them that control so they can perform that role. The same way, I'm the front end of our business. I'm the sales guy. If I make a promise, I'm making a promise for all of us, and they
yeah.
keep it whether they like what I said or not. And so
Yeah.
that's what we mean by mutual dictatorship. You have to
Yeah.
choose a role, and you have to accept that they're in charge, and you have to be willing to let them screw it up.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask you that. So how do you, when you know and you know that this is wrong, how have you guys come to terms on that, or did it happen, evolve, and that person learn, and you're obviously still here,
Yeah,
so you
you
survive?
grow and you learn. And it does come from a place of everybody is trying to win, right? When
Mhm.
nobody's trying to make a willfully stupid decision. Uh,
Right.
so we so if you, for example, let's say they wanted to do a transaction I wasn't comfortable with, I would voice why I'm uncomfortable with it. If they
Hmm.
chose to go through it anyway, I accept the loss that gets generated by that choice. That's part of
Right.
our partnership.
Yeah.
Uh, at the same time, when that loss comes up, we're going to want to do a post mortem on that and say, okay, have we learned, and are we going to behave in the future that doesn't happen again?
Right.
So it is an evolutionary process as well, and we've had. I mean, every one of us has had losses. It's just how it
Right.
works. The trick
Right.
is to just win just a little bit more.
That's right. Keep that ratio a little higher on the win side and the win category.
Yeah,
So how do you? Is it been the same people in this nucleus? I mean, do people come and go in those roles? Because if you have everybody has a role, and how many people are in this circle, for example?
we have a total of four, including
Four
myself.
people, and those four people have been constant since the beginning, or have you had?
Yeah,
Okay, wow.
and that and it comes from my partnership is a little bit more mature than maybe somebody just starting out. Every
Mm,
one of us has come out of a failed previous partnership that is
mm,
unrelated, and so
yeah.
we're all a bunch of business divorcees who all know what we want. We know why our last thing screwed up, and we refuse to allow it to exist in our current setup.
I get that, man. I love how you said
And
that. 'Cause,
and then each of the people in our case, it's extremely well balanced. I'm a sales, marketing, capital raising, data geek, so I
yeah,
handle the front end kind of stuff. Uh,
yeah,
Andrea,
yeah,
she does our networking and builds our community. So people talk to me, and that
yeah,
leads to transactions.
yeah.
We have a real estate broker who's been doing this for 30 some years in the Pittsburgh market and is one of the best acquisition guys on the planet.
Wow.
He's the seller whisperer. So when I say I need properties, they just show up. That's cool. And then I have a polymath CPA partner who
Mm,
understands math, underwriting, and money better than
yeah.
any of us have any right to. So
Wow.
it's been very, very well balanced that it essentially handles all aspects of our business.
Yeah. And it sounds like the level of expertise kind of just makes, quiets the noise, right? If you have a question, you better educate yourself before you go to your
Mhm.
CPA about something to challenge him. You better make sure,
Uh,
you know,
well, sorta. It's more like I trust her.
Yeah.
So it's
Wow.
like, okay, hey, does this deal pencil? It looks good to me. Does it
Yeah.
pencil? And she
Yeah.
comes back and sometimes she says, hey, this is way better than you think it is. Other times, nope, we're not doing this one. Your 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 purse strings are cut, man. You don't get to play. Uh, and so I trust that expertise and I leverage it
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
shamelessly. I don't
Yeah.
try to, just like they don't try to do sales stuff. They leave that
Right.
to me.
Right.
They've all done sales, but that's my world. They'd rather
Yeah.
tell me to get on a phone with them and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the words you said about leveraging it, leveraging your expertise against theirs.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yep.
Oh man. I
You
mean,
gotta
because
you gotta trust your partners, or you're just handing a huge amount of equity to somebody that isn't bringing anything to your table,
yeah.
and that's critical. One
Yeah.
thing I can talk for a minute if you want to know how my first partnership failed.
Yeah.
It'd be
Yeah. Let's
interesting to
talk
you.
about it.
So I'm still best friends with the guy.
Okay.
So it was not like a bad, oh yeah, you screwed me over. No, he made money on me. I made money on him. We got started in this business. We're good friends, right?
Okay.
Uh, what ultimately happened was there was an inequality,
Mm.
and so and that would have never worked long term. It was just a matter of when that was going to stop working. And so
Got you.
what what initially happened is I'm the broke college kid living in mom's basement. He was older, more established, had a credit score, had a retirement account, had a little bit of money, not a ton. He had some money. He could invest in this business.
Mm.
And his thing was, I'll write the checks, you do the work.
Mm.
Well, if I'm starting out in this business, that's a match made in heaven. That works out fantastic because my problem, the barrier to entry many of us run into is I can't afford to buy any of this shit, even if I find the property, right? So to have somebody who's like, yeah, I got the cash, you're good to go. Well,
Mm.
so that's how we ran for several years. We did quite a few house flips and we made a lot of money. But at some point, I stopped being broke.
Mm.
And suddenly, I'm handing 50% of my equity
Mm.
to somebody who is contributing nothing
Mm.
except the check that I no longer need.
Mm.
And that level of inequality is unsustainable. You can't do
Man,
it,
that's now, boy, that I love that. I
right?
love that. Yeah, I
So
mean,
long term,
mm,
you have to both be bringing something to the table.
right,
And so if you're watching this and you're a money partner, that's a great thing. You're helping people get started in the business, you can also make an absolute fortune. It's pretty
right,
cool, but it's
right.
not permanent. I would write all those partnerships with a 5-year sunset date
Yeah,
and just
I,
an
I
expected time it's going to end. Because if I'm
yeah.
passive, I'll be daddy money bags for 5 years, within reason, and then at the end of that, you should be able to stand on your own. I'm out. You want me after that? I'm just a private lender. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. It's funny you say that. If I may just kind of tie into what you're talking about, my first business as a real not real estate, but the other business, installation business I started,
Mhm.
similar. Like I had some capital, but my buddy had all the capital, and we were going to do this. But in that business, it was to build it. There's the sales, and then there's the implementation, and the implementation was physical grunt, dirty work, and all that stuff. Right?
Yep.
So the very first job that we did, the check ended up going to him, and then he just went off in the sunset. And I'm like, so it didn't take that long for me to realize
Yep.
that I was already at that point. So I love what you said about the inequality, and it just
Yeah. It
took
has.
you,
It's the inequality is okay to start. You just have to know it's
yeah,
unsustainable.
that's
Uh,
right,
you
that's
can't
right,
be a passive limited partner investor and expect to have a majority stake,
right,
or
that's
even
right,
a fair stake in that
right.
business long term. It doesn't work.
But what
Uh,
do you say? What do you say to people that say, "Well, I've got all my money in there, and I should get this"? How can you help an investor on the other side that they're saying that to? You know what I mean? Because they still
you
think that,
you mean the money partner?
yeah, the money
Yeah, that's
partner says,
yeah. It's what I would do. It would be I would do a 5-year sunset date.
yeah,
I
fine,
would
yeah,
I would start the entire thing with, let's try a deal or two, see if it works.
yeah,
And if it does,
yeah,
okay, we'll be business partners and I'm going to do a
yeah,
60-month operating agreement with you.
yeah,
It
I like
ends
it,
in 60 months. We can
yeah,
sit down and renegotiate at that point if it still makes sense. And here's a very clear layout of my terms. I'm not doing shit. I'll write a check if the underwriting checks. That's the money partner. That's what they do.
Yep.
You're not going to show up at the property. You're not going to be talking about all this other stuff. You're going to audit it. I mean, you better. But you're not going to do any of the work. So while the other partner is putting in 40, 50, 60, 70 hours, depending on the size of your business and what you're doing, even part-time is easy, 20, 30 hours a week. That's while they're putting in all those hours as a money partner, I'm looking to put in, I don't know, 4 to 10 hours a month.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. It depends. It depends on the experience of the person that I'm funding in partnership with, right? How much do I trust their expertise? I mean, personally, if I'm going to do this, I would audit it rather carefully. I would have to agree up front what the terms of a deal are. What numbers do I need to see on a piece of property before I'm going to write a check for it? And then I'm going to have milestones, just like any other lender.
Sure.
Except instead of getting my monthly payments, I'm just making sure the project finishes so I get my return. It's a more active form of passive investing is a good way to think of it. If you don't want to do any of that, then you're safer off just being a private mortgage lender. Just write the check. It's a guaranteed payday. They either pay you or you get the property. It's easy.
Yeah.
Don't complicate it.
Brainer, right?
But being the money partner, like for equity, that's your role. And that role is going to be temporary. As long as the business is successful, your partner is going to make money. They're going to make as much as you do.
Yeah.
And it's not going to take too long. Now, in the end, are you going to have more money than them? Yeah, probably. But it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
They have $500,000 in the bank. Newsflash, they don't have to give you half of their next deal because they can afford to buy the deal. Right? They don't have to do it.
Right.
So if you tried to hold it out of loyalty, they could choose to stay with you a while. But at the end of the day, it'll breed resentment.
Yeah.
Because they're doing all the work and you're not. And so that doesn't work as a long-term partnership.
No, and that's the real truth, man. I appreciate the candidness. Hey, what's up, Isaac and Steph? Appreciate you guys staying here. Isaac, we'll catch up, man, for real. Yeah, that's really, the marriage piece. And successful marriages are open, honest, connected, all those things that go along with it, right? And they really, really just have to weather everything that goes on, just like a marriage, man. How you doing, brother? And so to not know that, man, because there's so many people that want to go into partnerships, and man, I've had some good success with some, and I've screwed up some, and I'm still paying the price for some of that. So,
I think the marriage analogy works really well. You do.
Thanks, man.
You should start by dating. Right.
Yeah.
You just don't meet somebody and be like, yeah, let's get hitched. Right. Like let's do a date. In real estate world, a date is a joint venture. We're going to do a project together. We're going to buy a house. We're going to flip it. We're going to keep it as a rental. We're going to wholesale, whatever we're going to do. Right. And then we're going to hash out, okay, who's performing what role, who's finding the deal, who's bringing the money, who's running the project, who's selling the asset on the other end. Like what's going on there. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once we've laid all that out, that's going to be a one-time gig. We're going to sit down, we're going to do it. Hopefully we're successful, we make money. And we're going to divide the money according to whatever terms we negotiated up front.
Right.
And we are done. Then we can go do it again. Hey, that worked out. Would you like to try again?
Right.
And you're going to try it a couple times. And then eventually it might be, okay, hey, we could scale this thing up. We can do it. That would be a more long-term partnership. But you start with just a handful of these little joint ventures. Right. You get to know each other. You get to figure out, how do you deal with stress? Because there's no such thing as a stress-free transaction.
Come on. Say that one again, man. No.
I've never had one.
Yeah.
So there's always something. Our joke is that all deals try to drink bleach at least 3 times. They try to kill themselves. And so you have to sit there. You have to stop them from doing that. And that's
yes, sir, man. So, man, listen, I want to make sure, because we don't have so much time here. This has been great. I mean, we could talk because this is so important. People don't. We should probably bring you back and talk about some more details on this. There's some really great stuff around marriage and as a partnership. But so let's kind of move into your opinions around those. When do you realize that rehabbing alone is not the way to do the business? You know, as a rehabber,
Rehabbing, yeah, rehabbing makes money.
right?
So if I need to pay my bills, I rehab,
Yeah.
or you wholesale, whatever, but you do that
Hmm.
active side of the business. Uh, and while that's critical, the return on it kind of sucks. And by that I
Hmm.
mean if I make $1 million flipping houses, which is average profit of 30K, that's what, three a month, right?
Right.
So I managed to make $1 million. The IRS is taking like 400 grand.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm losing 40 to 50% of that up front because that's how that's taxed. That's
Yeah.
brutal. In
Yeah.
addition, there's a thing we call the churn.
Mm.
And this is true with all active businesses. This is not unique to this one. But the
Yeah.
moment I flip that house, I get that check. If I don't go get the next house and start flipping that one, there is no more money. I'm done.
You're
The,
done.
the game has ended. So uh, to build real wealth, to beat the taxes, to beat the inflation, and to beat the churn, to make it so that I
Yeah.
don't have to. What happens at some point? Can I have done enough? Can I just
Yeah.
stop now and like sit on my laurels? I mean, retirement is sort of a thing, right? I'd like to get there. Uh, the only way that you're going to accomplish that in the real estate business is by holding assets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, that's not entirely true. I guess I did say it right.
Well,
Holding assets can be buying and holding property, usually for income. It can also be owning notes as assets. Both of those
yeah.
will work. Uh,
Yes.
but that's and we do both. We do a combination.
Okay.
So, and
Okay.
that's and our goal is that we're not getting killed by the tax man.
Right.
Ideally, we're not paying them much of anything
Yeah.
because we're not generating capital in the way that they consider taxable, right?
Right.
And we get the
Right.
various losses and things that they give us with real estate.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid rent every month, and the value of that asset tends to go up, and that's
Yeah.
whether I buy another house or not, right? So I buy it,
Yeah.
it starts paying me. 10 years
Yeah.
from now, it's still paying me.
Still paying you, worth hopefully a whole lot more than when you bought it.
Yeah, that's
You know.
mailbox money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the I guess the answer is that you buy and hold as fast and as early as you possibly can and as
Mm.
much as you possibly can. Uh,
Yeah.
if you're doing this business full time, you're probably going to need to do some rehabs and wholesales to pay your bills because
Right.
when we buy those things, we buy them with leverage. You don't make hardly anything in cash flow for a few years. There's just no
Right.
money.
That's
That's not
right.
how this works.
That's
5
right.
years from now, the things are turning off a pretty decent amount of cash, but you're still going to need
Right.
to own quite a few of them if you would like them to replace your income.
That's
It's
right.
not it's not like some of the gurus say, "Oh yeah, you just buy them and they cash flow and it's great." Yeah, sure. If you have like $8 million and you just want to buy everything free and clear, yes, you can
Yeah.
probably get enough cash flow to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Free and clear. I heard that too.
Yeah, I don't do free and clear. The math doesn't work on it. But but yeah, that's unless you're doing that, these
Mm.
properties are turning off pretty small amounts of money. I might be
Right.
making $1,000-$2,000 a year
Yeah.
on a single family asset, and that's assuming everything goes right. I have no outstanding vacancy. I don't get any massive repairs, none of that stuff. So money wise, most of us are looking to live a middle class to upper middle class lifestyle at a minimum. That's
Right.
100 to $200,000 a year. So
200K. Yeah.
you're talking about 40 or 50 properties to accomplish that
Yeah.
uh, up front, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really work that way. Most people don't have the cash to do that,
Right.
uh, and so we'll build it. So you'll do your wholesaling and rehabbing to generate cash, or you raise that capital privately and do it through partnerships, which is the
Right.
way I primarily did it.
Right.
Uh, and
Right.
that's that. But you want to get as many buy and holds under your belt as fast as possible to start the clock on that wealth building and retirement.
I'm glad you said that, because some people will say, well, will stack up your money and then go do it. I believe you need to figure out how you can begin to do it right away.
Yeah.
And whether you can only afford 2 versus 4, then get to 2. If you can only afford whatever that is that you can, what your partner says, your financial partner would say,
Mm-hmm.
going back to what you said, right?
Yep.
That body of difference, that partner dictatorship marriage partnership type setting, so important, man. It protects you. It protects you from yourself,
It
among other
does.
things.
And here's another simple way to look at it. Let's say one of the things we do, and we have a mastermind, we teach this stuff in. We teach people to build a large rental portfolio. One of the first things we have you do is set your goal. What are you after? Because that we can work towards it. Then I want to make a lot of money is not a goal. That doesn't work. What the hell's a lot of money? How soon do you want to do it? You want to make $1 million? It's really easy. Make $1 a day for 1 million days.
For me,
It's not. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a plan that people would consider valid. I want to make $1 million by tomorrow. Different plan. So we need a timeline to go with that. And so we set the timeline. We say 5 years, and then we say, okay, in order to hit your income goal in 5 years, how much do you need? How much capital do you need? What's the number? We figure that out, and then just as a overriding example, let's say you want to make 200K a year. To do that today, you'll need about $2.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can go make that. Go get a job someplace, live below your means, save a couple $100,000 a year, and in 10, 20 years, maybe you'll have your 2.5 million. Oh, by then inflation kicked in, the number's 8 now. So you're gonna have a hard time doing that. So making the money is very, very slow. It takes a lot of effort. Generally, what we're going to do is raise that capital. So what if I'm going to raise that money through money partners? Money partners are going to take half of my deal.
Right.
Okay. So now I don't need 2.5 million anymore. I need 5.
Right.
But it's a lot easier and faster for me to find $5 million of other people's money than it is to make 2.5 million of my own.
Yes, sir.
And both have the same outcome.
Yes, sir.
In fact, the second one's a hell of a lot safer.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to own that 2.5 million worth of property. I'm going to own 50% of 5 million, distributing my risk further across it. Less vacancy, less maintenance. Like it's all balanced out that way. So it is a safer model from a risk point of view. Faster, safer, easier.
Yeah. For that low risk person out there that wants to do it, I hope you listen. I hope you just heard that. That kind of eliminates your excuse for stopping and not doing it. I mean, there's ways around that. So Brian, man, boy, I'd like to keep you all day, man, because we're just getting started. We got to go. So how do I'm just going to ask this. I'm going to prolong this conclusion here because I really like you to tell people how you see real estate over the next 12 to 24 months. What can you share in a couple minutes?
The most important thing to understand about specifically residential real estate, that's where my expertise lies. Commercial has crashed, and I don't really know too much about it besides don't do that. The most important thing here is that we have a significant shortage of housing in the United States. You can see that number calculated a handful of ways, but I like the National Association of Realtors way the best, which puts that number somewhere in the low to mid 7 million housing units short. So a sizable number considering a population of 340 million to be 7 million short.
Right.
And that doesn't count another variable that we just started looking at pretty closely this year is it's a big news of all the illegal immigration in the country. Well, interesting thing about the illegal immigration in the country is it does not seem to increase homelessness. That suggests that the people moving into this country find a place to live and thus contributing to the housing shortage. So not to get political or anything, but they're adding to it. And so they have a rough number. They believe that since about 2014, we've had about 18 million people enter the country. Well, our official number is 340. Add 18 to that, and that's not going to make your housing shortage less severe.
Right.
So we have a big shortage of houses across the country. What happens when we don't have a lot of things and everybody wants it? What happens to the price? Right?
Skyrocket, baby.
They go way up. Now, last year, really about 18 months ago, the Fed started jacking up the rate and made the financing a lot more expensive. So they crushed affordability.
Yeah.
They made it so you couldn't afford to buy a house, and so you wouldn't. Also,
Yeah.
most of the people who would traditionally buy a house or who traditionally sell a house are also a buyer. So if I'm
Yeah.
sitting on a mortgage from 2016 at 3%, I'm not going to be interested in selling that guy today and picking up a 7.5% mortgage.
Yeah. Not gonna do it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but they're not going to do it. So it's further reduced the amount that's on the market, which means even though the cost of financing has been very high, the prices nationally have gone up.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
going up now. They're going like here we are in the seasonality, and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Prices are still going
It's
up.
still going up.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere. So the current opinion of basically all your financial gurus, including Wall Street, is that the Fed will start cutting rates in March.
Right.
When they do that, there'll be a ripple effect. It'll happen pretty fast.
Hmm.
Within a couple of weeks, we'll see the mortgage rates drop a little bit, and that's the Fed rate and the mortgage rate are not directly related. There's an
Right.
indirect relationship, but they get there.
Yep.
And as soon as that happens, the affordability increases, but so will the price.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we have a window. If you want to buy something real estate wise, you have about 60 to 90 days left before those prices take a pretty good hike, right?
Hmm.
You're talking about getting into April, which is the seasonal buying
It's time to
season.
buy. Yeah. Time
And
to buy.
and now we're back into multiple offers because there's not a lot of property going to be for sale compared to
Yeah.
historically. And now it's going to be more affordable when you got a lot of people chasing very few homes. So
Yeah.
that prices are going to go up. So
Mm.
as investors, this is good news for us and terrible news for our grandchildren. So it's good news for us because I own a bunch of houses. The value of
Yeah.
my property goes through the roof. What happens to
Yeah.
my rent? I'm gonna
Yeah.
jack that up too because the market will sustain it, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay. So we're looking at substantial price increases in the next
Hmm.
couple of months. You wait 6, 12 months and you're looking at paying, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10% more than you'd pay for the same asset today.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and those will go up. If you buy the asset today on the high mortgage rates and everything, then you can refinance it and take advantage. You'll gain
Yeah.
that.
You gain some. Yeah. Yeah.
So that'll be nice. Um, Asset classes, I would stick with single families and small apartments,
Yeah.
20 unit less.
Yeah.
Down in
Yeah.
your neck of the woods, in the Sun Belt, major cities in Texas, Southern California, and Florida, I would be very careful about large multifamily. There's about a
Hmm.
million units of large
Well,
multifamily coming online by the end of the year.
it's
Uh,
crazy.
we're not sure what the demand is going to be. I think it's going to cause some vacancy issues. So I would not
Yeah.
choose to invest in those projects. I wouldn't get into any syndications around them or anything like that until the dust settles. Of
Yeah.
course, the people selling those syndications will tell you the opposite. But
That they,
that's,
and,
I'm just looking at you're putting a million units of property in a handful of cities and expecting it to work out. I'm like,
and
I'm
they've
not sure it's
been
going to go the way it's going to go.
they've been doing it here for the last 3 or 4 years anyway. High
Mhm.
end stuff, right? So when's that going to stop? You
Well,
know,
it's I don't know that it's going to stop. It's more that I don't think they're going to be able to fill those units, and so what they're going to end up doing, they're going to drop the price.
yes,
They're going to make
yeah,
that A class new construction asset cost as much as the B class asset. The people living
yeah,
in the B class asset are like, "Ooh, I'm going to get me some news," and they're going to move, creating
right,
vacancy in the B class. It's the
yeah,
vacancy will be a number that stays. It'll move
okay,
around where it
yeah,
is.
move, yeah,
The people who paid for the A class asset are now getting B class income. That's not going to work. That math is a loss. So
yeah,
maybe these are good projects if you need tax losses, but uh, but I
that's
would
about,
avoid those. And if I own a large multifamily like Class B or C in one of those cities now, I'd probably be looking to sell it.
yeah,
I'd want to get out because it's probably fine now, but I don't know that I want to still be playing that particular game in 12 months.
yeah, because
So
there's a ton of new doors, man. I mean,
yep,
just and everywhere, and people are moving, and they say, well, we got people moving in from California and that can afford it, da 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 da. But as you've described, you
yep.
know,
It's again, it's all supply and demand, right?
right.
And so
That's
yeah, we're 7 million short. That and that number grows annually, right? So it's offset by
yeah,
some stuff. But let's assume you're going to take a million units and just throw it at that number. We're going to take the number down to 6, which is still really bad. But
right.
that 6 is not evenly distributed.
Mm,
That's 6 in like about 8 cities.
Mm.
So in those 8 cities,
Mm.
your supply, in theory, is solved.
Yeah.
But it's not going to work that way.
Mm.
That's going to create vacancy because you're going to surpass the demand. So
Yeah.
at least that's the big picture. So I would avoid the large multifamilies.
And large meaning 100 doors or more, 50 doors or more, or couple hundred doors.
My definition of a small apartment, which I still think will work okay, like a townhouse block or whatever, is under 20.
Under 20. Okay.
So anything under 20, you're fine. I'm gonna hesitate, especially in the Sun Belt, on larger apartment buildings.
Okay. So, Brian, is there some Fannie Mae money out there encouraging people to invest in fourplexes and more at 5%, and it's going to be based off of the value of the asset,
So
the
you can
income
do.
generated?
There's a couple of things like that. There's also there's a Bank of America loan if you're not white that is a 0% down as well. I thought they had a Fair Housing Act in '84 that made that illegal, but Bank of America is exempt. So if you happen to be a minority, you can get you a 0%
Oh,
down.
I love you, man. You just
I'm not even making this up. It's on their website. There, so it's been true for actually quite some time. You can get a FHA loan for anything that is a single family residence, and from a financing point of view, that's a 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah.
Except in a couple of counties around the country where they declared it to be anything 3 or less, and one of those is relevant to you. That's Harris County.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can only go up to a triplex. They consider a fourplex a multifamily. It won't pencil for them. And I think there's a couple more. There might be a few in California or something. Just counties that have screwed with the definition for some reason. But you can get an FHA loan and you can take down one of those. And FHA it's basically 3.5% down. And it's a lower interest rate. But here's the thing: there's no such thing as a loan that you put down less than 20% on in real estate. That's an illusion. Your FHA programs, USDA, those handful of others that allow you to make that smaller down payment, you'll also be required to buy the PMI, the personal mortgage insurance. So now you have to make this additional payment. You have a higher loan amount, which is a higher payment. And now we have this additional payment that does not benefit you. This is an insurance policy to cover your lender in the event of a default. So from an ideal standpoint, I don't want to acquire an asset without putting at least 20% down, even for a house hack. If you can't do it, if you have to do the lower down payment, that's okay. But I'm going to look to refi that guy as fast as possible.
Right.
There's a couple of kinds of FHA loans. You'd have to talk to your particular lender on it, but they do have some that allow a rehab budget and that kind of thing. And it's going to be a what do they call it? It's not a DCR loan. It's the residential version of the debt to income, DTI.
Yeah.
That's the way they'll underwrite you for your Fannie Freddie notes. They still have an appraisal and all that, but you as an individual with a lower standard still have to make it. And so that's something that I would recommend to usually somebody young. Either a newly married couple. Don't do it with kids. Or single, and then you do the house hack. You buy yourself a triplex or a quadplex. You go in there, and the goal isn't to make money initially. The goal is to reduce your living expense to almost nothing. So if I got a $3,000 a month payment, I live in one of the units, rent the other two out for $1,000 a pop, and they pay their own utilities. Well, now I'm living in my house for $1,000 plus utilities. So that's not bad. And then eventually when the house has gained enough equity, I'm going to refi it, pay off that FHA loan, go into a conventional. Then I can move out. You have to live there while you have the FHA. I can move out, rent out the third unit, and now I've gained a unit. And you're going to do that, I don't know, once every 2 or 3 years. So if you're in your 20s, it's a great plan. You're in your 40s, it can still work. You're in your 50s and 60s, not sure the clock makes sense.
A little slower at that point, but so I brought the question up because there's people out there that would go out and buy this fancy new house, and rather than take advantage of the thought process you just shared.
Hmm.
Reduce your expenses, build an asset base, and over time get the money straightened out right and go do it again. And
Yep.
so, and that's how you build wealth. That's how you sit comfortably, like you're sitting right now, knowing that, hey, as long as something doesn't blow up every month, I've got to get a bigger mailbox.
Yep.
Because of how things have worked out, man. So
Yeah, it's that the house hacking is a really good way for somebody young to get
yeah,
started,
yeah,
especially if you're working a W-2 job, you can qualify for that mortgage and that kind of thing.
yeah,
For somebody who's a full-time investor, it's gonna be a little rougher because
yeah,
you're not gonna be able to
yeah.
show the income they want to see. It doesn't matter
Right.
if you actually have enough cash; they don't care. You
They
don't fit
don't care.
you don't
Yeah,
fit in the box
yeah,
by not having a W-2.
yeah. Well, but that's how you learn from guys like you on how to raise capital and things of
Hmm.
that nature. So as we
Yep.
kind of wind down, man, I kept you a little long, way longer than normal. And I appreciate you because that's information I think is important. People are going to have income tax checks and do all these other things. So maybe they're listening. Maybe
Hmm.
this time they don't go out and blow
Buy
the
a new
money,
TV.
buy a new TV or whatever. You know, everybody deserves to do whatever they want to do with their own money. But man, if we could help them just say, hey, there's a better option out here,
Yep.
and reach out to them. So how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way to connect with you? And what
Uh,
programs do you have going on?
Yeah, so there's two major ways you can do business with us. The first is you can buy rental assets off of us, and we're a turnkey provider, meaning that I'll sell you assets that are either rented or rentable, and then we'll get you over to some good property managers we work with. They manage our properties as well, and we'll help you out with financing and everything. You show up with your down payment, we help you do the rest. It's as close to done for you as I possibly can. All our assets are in Pittsburgh. That's the most affordable market on the planet with a population
Yeah,
over 1 million. So
crazy.
we got some good stuff going for us here. You can actually buy things at cash flow here, unlike in most of
Yeah.
the country. And so we can do that. The other way you can work with us is we sell private notes. So you can choose to be one of our lenders and basically be our bank, and we will pay you on a regular, ongoing basis. And if you have money sitting in a retirement account, that's a pretty fantastic way to get a return.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. And man, how can you, thank you, first of all, for dropping all this stuff, man. I mean, there's just so many things in here that I, good to hear that I'm on par with you on, and some things people need to hear. I know from the conversation I'm hearing from other people. How do you want to leave the audience today? You know,
Uh, to get a hold of us, you get my website, which is
yeah,
coast to coast turnkey.com with the number 2, and that's a pretty good way you can get a hold of me through that. You got our phone number and everything on there, so you'll be able to contact us. You can also see I do webinars every week on Tuesday. I have replays of dozens of them on there,
yeah,
so you can go see all that on our website. But I guess the big advice I would leave everybody with is just start doing this.
mm,
You got to take the first step. Uh, accept that you may take a loss. Great, you're not going to get any reward without a risk. Uh,
yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't exist. So just write off that, yeah, you might lose. No, it's not a scam. That's why 90% of every millionaire makes their money in real estate. It's just a thing.
yeah.
Uh, it's not a get rich quick scheme. We don't get rich overnight. This takes years, but you get started. You start building it. You follow a simple process, and then you repeat, and you can hit all the financial goals you'll ever want.
Mm. I like that. It's kind of simple, 3 steps, right? And then the repeat piece. And if you really get in a space where you're just not sure and you have some cash, I would encourage you to reach out to Brian and let him guide you along the way, or give you some directions. And I mean, because this guy knows what he's talking about, man. So, hey, well, listen, and now is it Coast with the number 2, coast.com? What is it again? Your
Coast,
website?
Coast, COAST, number
Yeah.
2,
Yeah.
Coast, turnkey, turnkey.com.
All right. Let me see here. I was going to put that in there real quick if I don't mess it up. Coast to Coast Turnkey.
.com. That's me.
Now, is it COASTTURNKEY or
Yeah.
is you cap? Okay.
Yeah. No caps or anything. Just one long word with a number 2 in it.
Coast to Coast Turn. Man, listen, it's been fantastic, and it was everything I thought it would be. Because again, just the first meeting and listening to you from a distance when we were in Houston, I said, I got to get this guy back. I got to get him on here and get some time, because you tell it like it is, and you break it down so people with no experience can gain something from it. And for those of us that think we know what's going on, you can also kind of kick us in the butt a little bit too, and challenge the thinking process. I love that, man. So
yeah, thanks for having me, Geoff. It was really cool.
Yeah, you've done a great job. Thank you for being here. Tell Andrea thank you. I'll reach out to her as well. Hopefully she got back from her travels, and you guys keep on doing what you're doing, man. You're definitely needed and definitely appreciated. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, man. Right. I'll talk to you again soon.
Take
Bye,
care,
everybody.
brother. Bye-bye. Go Browns. Hey, listen, everyone. I just want to tell you, I know we've been here a little longer than normal, but I kept you here for a reason, because this man, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to really understanding the game, building partnerships, building relationships, looking at it as a marriage, being honest and vulnerable about the fact that, hey, you're going to lose money. You're going to get your butt beat in this business. And what do you do then? You got to get better around the people that are around you, right? So, man, thank you again for being here today, Brian. And as I wrap this thing up, I want to just tell you that don't listen to this and then walk away thinking it's not for me. Don't let that stinking thinking rise up and say, your friends can do that, but you can't do that. Don't let that self-talk that we all have be the reason why, if you want to get involved in real estate and you need some information, look, hey, Brian can help you. I can help you. We can put you in the right place there. I'm telling you, real estate is still the thing. It will always be the thing for me. And yes, you're going to get your butt beat like I've been going through, like he mentioned to you. Right. And so just know that it can be done and you can do it. And share this information, sit down and listen to this thing again, listen to it 100 times if that's what it takes, because there's a lot of stuff in there that's simple that you can take away. And remember this, there's no better time now than getting involved in real estate investing. Don't do it by yourself. Don't be stupid and do it by yourself. Get somebody to help you do that. More importantly, I challenge you as always, be aware of what you're thinking about. Be aware of what you're telling yourself. Be aware of the circle that you surround yourself with, that external noise, that chatter outside. Make some different choices about how you start your day. Make some different choices on how you finish your night. And you too will find yourself in a different position in a short period of time. No more I can, it's I can. No more maybe, it's I will. No more I think about it, it's I must. And don't you stop now. Get busy now. Your gift and your power is in the comeback. Man, I believe that. We know that to be true. I appreciate everybody. Stay tuned for next week. We got some great things, and rerun this show, you real estate people. There's a lot in there that can help you. Go get your business started. All right, guys, take care. Have a great day. Subscribe, share this information, set up your notifications for the next show. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.